Hey, hello everybody, I'm Munbalance, and today we're going to be talking about pay to win. Yeah, we're getting Diablo Immortal up in here, and we're going to be talking about all the advantages that you can pay extra for in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, to get obvious things out of the way, there are going to be some unique costumes, as well as furniture for your in-game house, that are going to be locked to the cash shop. Additionally, old outfits from old events, as well as old furniture items from old events, are also sold in the cash shop. Now, if we go over to the Final Fantasy Online store, it's generally a little less robust than your usual MMO cash shop. Because this is not a free MMO, the cash shop is not baked directly into the game itself. Instead, you have to actually go to a website to purchase things. And there are many things that you can buy in this store. However, in terms of like actual wealth of the cash shop, it's actually quite low. But there is some advantages that you could pay for if you want purely statistical better odds. But there is obviously aesthetic stuff too, like the new items that just came out that are actually really popular. The Mega Shiba, which is a big old Shiba Inu mount, and then the street attire, which is also quite popular because people like modern, just kind of casual clothes. But riding the edge of both function and form, we have a Vial of Fantasia. This will allow you to change your race or other genetically based modifiers of your character without actually creating a whole new character. The reason why this is on the edge of both form and function is because there is a function in the game that allows you to change the aesthetics of your character, but outside of some stray stats, the races don't actually have any statistical advantage, and the stat bonuses that each race and clan, as it were, or variations of certain races, the stat bonuses that they give are so tremendously low compared to the stats that we reach at endgame anyway, that it's really not worth it. You might as well just go with something that you most comfortably identify with. Now, we talk about actual, like, just entirely statistical advantage. We're going to go into stuff like these story skips. These are items in the game that will allow a character to skip a vast majority of the main scenario questline and just to skip right to the latest one. Here we have the Tales of Adventure Shadowbringers, which will complete every quest that your character has access to, all the way up to Shadowbringers. So it would essentially allow you to just get right started on the newest content, which is Endwalker. There is no skip for Endwalker. That's current content, and you're not going to be able to skip that until it's old content, which gives the argument that these are implied for other characters or alternate characters to let people play with their friends so that they can make an alternate character and they don't have to go through the whole game again. And as we get into data center travel, stuff like this isn't going to be as necessary. However, seeing how well the data center travel happened, I wouldn't hold your breath. Now, if we take a deeper look, we actually do get some additional bonuses when you purchase a skip like that. You also get access to Allegan Platinum pieces, which will give you 10,000 gold each. This means it's a total of 500,000 gil, and you'll also get 10 silver chocobo feathers. Silver chocobo feathers, and these silver chocobo feathers can be used to purchase gear of certain levels. So if you were to buy a Shadowbringer skip, you could use your silver chocobo feathers and buy some level 80 gear to help you get started. This is technically a statistical advantage, but there's nothing stopping you from going out and getting this gear yourself, since it's relatively cheap to buy out-of-date gear. It's usually just some tomestones, which you'll get from doing roulettes and just generally playing the game. Now, the next item I'd like to bring up is the dyes. So you can actually get some premium dyes in the cash shop. Something like these pots of jet black dye. This is a black dye that is significantly blacker than the normal black dye, which is called soot black. And if I go back into the game here and go to the market board, you could see that if I were to just go ahead and try out any old thing on, you could see that I can enable the dye preview, and you can see the regular black dye, the soot black dye here. And then we can go ahead and compare that to the jet black dye is actually going to be significantly darker, and it generally just has a more premium appearance to it. And while these dyes are generally pretty hard to get outside of the cash shop, they are not exclusive to it. You can get premium dyes such as the metallic gold or red, or the aforementioned pure white or jet black dyes through your retainers, which is the next thing we're going to be talking about. But I will note that you can buy dyes from the cash shop. You will not be able to sell them on the market board. There is a very clear distinction between the two. If I go ahead and go back to the dyeing, you can see that we have two different dyes that work here. We have a general purpose pure white dye, and this is the dye that you would get within the game itself. And you also have the pure white dye, and this is the one that you'd buy from the cash shop. You can see that the pure white dye, the normal pure white dye, is untradeable. The general purpose one is not, so that is accessible and you can trade that on the market board. The dyes are actually quite expensive, especially the pure white and jet black, so if you're lucky enough to get a tradable version of it, then you got yourself a pretty penny there, probably at very least a few $100K. Now, this brings us to a very important discussion of retainers. Retainers have a lot of functions in Final Fantasy XIV. They work as basically assistants for you, and they can hold items for you. They are the only way that you can sell items on the market board. Additionally, they can also partake in fetch quests, essentially. You can send them out to get a certain item, and within a certain time frame, they'll come back with that item. But here we are just showcasing some of the features of the retainer. You can see that the retainer has its own inventory and has 5 blocks of inventory space, so 175 item slots. Obviously, if you're a crafter and you have a lot of materials in your inventory, an extra retainer really goes a long way and helps a whole heck of a lot. And this is an advantage that you can pay for. While a base subscription can have 2 retainers, if you want a third one, you're going to have to pay for it, and it's an extra $2 per month added to your subscription fee. You can buy up to 7 extra retainers for a total of 9, and if you use the Final Fantasy XIV companion app, as well as purchasing the premium version of that app, which is $5, you can get yourself a 10th retainer, as well as doubling the size of your Chocobo saddlebag, which is another inventory form that you have. So you'd be able to double the size of your Chocobo saddlebag, as well as have an extra retainer. Additionally, selling items on the market board is exclusive to retainers. So if you want to sell an item on the market board, you need to use a retainer to do so. Now, the way that items are sold in Final Fantasy on the market board is actually pretty silly. Well, usually on a game, you'd be able to purchase an item. If someone was, say, selling 99 of something, you might be able to buy 1 or 2. That's not how it works on Final Fantasy XIV, and you actually have to buy the whole stack, which means that if you have a whole mass of items to sell, you're going to have to sell them in bulk, or you'd have to separate them and take more of your up to 20 slots per retainer to sell on the market board. This means that having an extra retainer gives you an extra 20 inventory slots of selling real estate, which can be very helpful if you're doing a whole lot of market playing. I don't think it's necessary, but it is definitely an advantage that you can pay extra for. Now, the last thing that ventures can do is actually hunt items for you. And you can see that depending on how well geared your retainer is and how high leveled it is, it will be able to do certain different things. And it'll actually have an easier time getting those items. You can see for the level 86 items, if I wanted Egg of Elpis, I'm going to be able to get 15 of those in 1 hour. However, the higher level items, I'm only going to be able to get 12. If I geared my retainer more, I could probably get these items up to 15 as well. Now, these items are generally pretty annoying to farm from monsters themselves, so being able to just send your retainer and forget about it is a really big advantage. So while you do have access to this feature, there is some things that you're going to miss out with the base 2 retainers. Retainers come in 4 different forms. You have your Battlecraft retainers, which is going to be something like a warrior or a mage, and that's going to be able to get you items that you would generally associate with monsters. You can also have a retainer be a botanist or a miner or a fisher, and each of these different venture types actually have different field explorations with different items. A field exploration is an example of a venture that lasts quite a while, but has a good chance to get you some good items in return. If you don't have a particular item that you're looking for and you just want to send your retainer away for a little bit, you could instead go for a quick exploration, and this will send the retainer away for an hour and you'll get a random item. It could be a random gear, it could be a random consumable, it's just completely up in the air. But it also has a chance to get a venture coffer, which is where those premium dies that you can sell on the market board come from. This is a very clear advantage, and obviously having more retainers raises the chance that you'd have to get that venture coffer. Now, on top of this, the different kinds of retainers, such as botanist or miner or fisher, will be able to get you items associated with that class. And these are generally, you can get some pretty high tier items, something from timed nodes, which would otherwise be very difficult or annoying to get as your own character. So it just kind of takes the workload off of you. On top of that, the field exploration can have rare items such as these minions. This car minion that I have here is from the field exploration for Battlecraft retainers, but there's more. Each of the different kind of retainers have different rewards. So if you want to be able to access all 4 of the different retainer types, you're going to have to get at least one of each different kind of retainer. Something like this Chewy minion, which is a very cute dog and is going to be very expensive, is exclusive, I believe, to miner retainers. And this item is only obtainable by having a miner retainer and sending it on a field exploration 18 hours later, being lucky enough to get the Chewy minion. If you do get the Chewy minion, you could use it and have it be your pal, or you can put it on the market board and make an easy million gil. So to even get into a situation where you have enough retainers to benefit from all of the different field rewards, and each of the level tiers also have their own rewards too, so there's actually quite a lot of unique items that are hidden behind the retainers. You do get 2 of them with your base subscription, but if you want to take full advantage of them, you'll need at least 2 extra. Oh, and in order for your retainer to be good enough to get those kind of items, obviously you'll need to level and gear them up, but they sell skips for the retainer too. They don't sell skips for gatherers or crafters, but retainers are not off the table. So something I will mention is that a lot of the cash shop items and a lot of the seedy ways to make money off of cash shop items are not instant gratification. It's actually, you have to do a little bit of work in order to actually make them profitable. In the topic of retainers, you obviously need to level your retainer up to the max level, and retainers can only be classes of a certain level that you have access to yourself. So if you don't have a miner at level 90, you're not going to be able to get a miner retainer at level 90, and thus you would not be able to take advantage of the retainer being a level 90 miner. That being said, once you have done all of this groundwork, the retainers can be incredibly profitable. And the last thing I want to cover today is mounts. And while it is true that you do get a company chocobo when you start the game, and it is fully featured as far as mounts go, you can customize this however you'd like, and it's also a pretty decent mount in the sense that, well, it walks faster and it can fly once you have unlocked flight. But not every mount is made the same. Certain mounts have advantages, like being able to fit 3 additional party members into the mount, and this will allow players in your party that otherwise don't have flying unlocked to benefit from the movement speed bonus as well as the general mobility of a flying mount. This means that you could go out of your way to help your friends that don't have all of the Aether currents unlocked in a certain area, and this would make the whole process a whole lot easier for them. And generally, there is a lot of mounts that you can pay for that are multiple seater mounts, including the only 8-seater mount in the game is currently the Lunar Whale, which is in the cash shop. But of course, I need to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the SDS Fenrir. This was given in a fan fest, a Final Fantasy XIV fan fest, and it is the only mount that is actually faster than all of the others. How relevant this is actually kind of up for debate, because once you unlock flying, all mounts are essentially the same speed, and this movement speed bonus is obtainable within the game itself. But this mount will go at a increased speed regardless of whether or not you've obtained the maps that allow you to go at this speed. This means that this mount is far and away the best mount for early game progression or any kind of situation where you need to be doing a whole lot of quests and you don't have access to all the Aether currents or flying quite yet. Once you fly, all of the mounts are the same speed, and if you're curious at what kind of different speeds mounts can move at, I did a video, you can check it out in the top right corner. But the SDS Fenner is the only mount that has a statistical advantage over other mounts, and you'll generally see a lot of these when a new expansion comes out or a new line of quests comes out, and everyone rushes to do them right away. And this is very prevalent in the beginning of an expansion where people haven't unlocked flight in a certain region yet. But in general, that's all the advantages that you can pay for in Final Fantasy XIV. While it is a subscription game, and it's generally a whole lot less than you'd expect, especially if you come from a free-to-play environment like I have, the fact that it is a subscription game does not make it immune to, at very least, a little crumb of pay-to-win. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters who allow me to make videos like this, sponsorship free, as well as get them a whole day early. Check the description for links where you can support the channel, as well as links to my Discord where you can come hang out, and my Twitch channel where I stream Final Fantasy every Friday, with other games on Saturday and Sunday. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.